Let's say I want to make a decision and I have absolutely no clue what I am doing. I have absolutely no clue, no background, no history, anything in the decision area I am trying to decide in, whatever that is. Business and marriage are two examples that I can take and use here. Because for me personally, my age, those are both very important things right now. Those are like next big steps in life for me. What am I going to do as my work, as my business, the business that I'm running with my life? Treat your life like it's your business, because it is. I'm minding my own business and also creating a business for myself. And who am I going to marry? How will I know that she's the person to me marrying? Where am I actually finding the information that I need to be able to make these decisions? How do I make these decisions to the best of my ability? Possibly, because I have zero experience in either of them, right? We're coming from this idea, the premise that we have no experience in either of these things, and we are supposed to make, like with marriage, you make that choice once and you're done. You better choose right. But if you have no experience in marriage, say someone's been married 1 billion times, actually, statistically, that means that each marriage is going to be worse than the first one. You're only supposed to get married once and only have one marriage your entire life with no previous experience of marriage before that. Business is the same kind of idea. You have to have, on average, 3 to 5 businesses statistically before something takes off, before something actually latches on, before you have enough experience to be able to say, here is what I need to be doing, before you've had enough time learning, developing, growing, etc. And the same applies to marriage, except that you come to the problem that both of those things, while systematically are very similar, are inherently different. Because one is a one and done, and the other one you can do over and over and over. You're not supposed to have 1 billion marriages. And like I said, the people who do, their marriages get worse and worse and worse as time goes on. You hear someone's been married 3 times and you say, oh my gosh, what is wrong with that person? You hear someone has 3, 5 different businesses that they've been a part of, and you're like, holy cow, look at that fat resume. That's amazing. And so what do you do in those kinds of situations where you're like, I have to make a very, very important decision here, and I have understanding that we have no previous experience? How in the world are you going to do that? Business is easy compared to marriage. Business is so much easier. How many men stereotypically are amazing at the office, are amazing in the workplace, but completely fail inside of their marriages? Like, how many movies have been made about that? And they have to like rediscover love, or like it's so hard for them to discover love because they're so busy. And maybe they're these great corporate, high ladder kind of people, kind of guys, but they're struggling to even get done the stuff that they need to get done inside of their marriage. Easy, simple things. They can't connect with their spouses. They can't connect with their wives. Or maybe, like I was just saying, they don't even have the time to figure that out, or it's something that's goes so off their radar and that they're so bad at, they can't even do it. Because you can be good in one area and bad in the other. How do you even do that? How do you say, all right, I need to make this decision without any previous experience? The only thing you can do for either of these, a good starting point for business, and the only way that you can ever do this for marriage, is to have a solid basis and a solid foundation of understanding that will help you have the wisdom to curate the decision that you make, or the string of decisions that you make. Case in point, my dad knew that he did not, right? All right, so let me back up even more, actually. I want to make another point before I go into that story, because that's a good story, and that's a great point and example to make, and I have benefited from his decisions from before he ever got married. But I need to back up a little bit. Some people, right, don't have any way of knowing. So let's say inside of business and inside of marriage, or inside of life in general, right? But then looking also at the context of business and marriage. You have to have some sort of guiding principles. Because in business, you have to learn things like psychology. You have to learn things like sales and tactics. What do people actually want? Health, wealth, relationships. You got to learn those kinds of things, right? You have to learn the systems, and you have to learn and have the understanding to be able to create, make good choices, and curate the experiences you have, the decisions you make in business to be able to have a successful business. In marriage, it is the exact same thing. And in life in general, it is the exact same thing. We have 1 billion religions on this planet, Metaphorically speaking, I don't actually know how many there are. There's tons and tons and tons. There have been, there always will be. It's only going to get worse. There'll be a one world religion. We already know from the Bible. And looking back in the past at history, at past data, at past understanding, and past experience, we know there have been a lot of religions. But listen, my words right now are actually solid proof and evidence of exactly what I'm talking about. I am speaking as a young guy with a basis of understanding and a depth of understanding that spans history and into the future. I know the future. How is that even possible? Because I have something that a lot of people don't have and that other people have to spend their time trying to find. A lot of people didn't have the blessing of growing up with the Bible in their own home. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, cringe, the Bible. Oh, I have people in my own family who are like, the Bible is just a big bunch of rules. And it's like, no, the Bible is actually the key to having a happy, successful life. You don't just run out onto the freeway like, oh, I want to do this. You understand the rule that if you go onto the freeway, you will be smashed by a massive truck or a ton of cars. Everyone knows that. And so the Bible is no different. It's saying here is a really graciously giving guidebook to all of life of how to live. There's an entire book in there called Proverbs. There are just countless and countless knowledge and information that gives you a basis, a foundation, and an understanding to help you curate the experiences that you will have, because you know where you should go, where you should not go, the time you should invest in places, and the time you should not invest in other places, the places where you should invest time and the places where you should not be investing time. And you also understand, hey, there is a lot of stuff in this world that is not good or healthy for me. There are people in this world that inside of a marriage would be absolutely terrible to be married to. There are also people, plenty of people, who would be amazing spouses, who would be amazing wives. In this case, I'm talking to guys, but this applies to everyone, no matter who you are, no matter whether you're a guy or a girl, or how old you are. The only difference is going to be that if you are older listening to this, you have already had a lot of these experiences that I and my peers have not yet had. But the similarity is that hopefully you have followed biblical principles, and so you have had the experience of curating the experiences of things like a good marriage, where I am still just trusting what I know, trusting the facts, trusting and having faith in the fact that I have a blueprint for how to structure my life now so that going forwards, I can make the best decisions possible, to make educated guesses and educated decisions, not guesses, decisions based on the understanding that I have from the experience of the past and of other people and from God's inspired word directly. There is no, inside of business, inspired scripture saying, here is exactly how to start a business, have it be successful, have it be long and prosperous. And also this applies to everyone throughout all of time, no matter what, no matter where, no matter when. That does not exist. We have been scammed before. I have had countless of people lie, try to sell me on stuff, all types of different things, because there is no inspired scripture for business. There's no playbook. Like, the best thing I have found so far is Alex Hormozy's $100 million books, right? Those are the best things I've found. So there, plug, go read those. But otherwise, that does not exist. That's why it takes 3 to 5 businesses to really start and get your startup going, where you only get one chance at marriage. So what are you going to do? You better hope that you have a solid understanding and a solid, how do you even do that? Let's get into that. All right, here's how you actually do that. Before you say, oh, hey, will you marry me? And will you say, I do? I actually just had a friend like last week. He just proposed and he's getting married. First, out of all of my friends that I have, out of my age group, it's surreal. I can't even believe it. But you know what I watched and what I witnessed and what I saw from talking with him a lot about this kind of stuff? And it wasn't even a lot, actually. I take it back. But when we did talk, we talked about it. And so it's been few conversations, but it's been good conversations when I've had conversations with this about him. When I've had conversations with him about this. And here's what he did. The entire way through, he had the support of his parents and of his girlfriend's parents. They were friends before they were actually dating, to the best of my knowledge. Like, I knew about her before they were ever dating, because he told me, when you're a guy, you tell the other guys about the girl. Maybe you don't, but a lot of us do. You just mention like, oh, she's just a friend, right? But he had a foundation, a solid foundation and solid understanding. And I hope still that he does going forwards. And that's the thing. We always need to make sure as young people that we do have this understanding and this solid foundation to be able to say, I am making the best decision possible here, not only for me, but for the other person involved. Okay, I'm just putting my hoodie on. It's cold in this room. Anyways, if we don't do that, if we don't have that, then we can't make a solid foundation decision. And so he has had this entire experience coming up to this point where he can now say, I am making a decision that will be a fruitful decision and a curated decision. I am actually picking and choosing out of all of these options what exactly I want my list of experiences to be. And so he's making a decision based on past evidence, past understanding, the experience of others. Like I said, he's got everyone involved in this. They're having a group discussion about this all the time. He's asking permission to date. He's checking all of the boxes with all of the adults who have already had this experience. Like I was saying, the older people here versus the younger people here, the difference is that we have not yet had these experiences that you older people listening to this have. And I know that there are some of you, which is really cool to me. And every time I talk to people too, they're like, hey, wow, you got a good head on your shoulders, kid. And I'm like, that's amazing to hear. I'm really happy about that because that is one of my biggest concerns, that I won't have a good head on my shoulders. Like we saw what happened with Solomon's son. David was a great dad. He had some whacked out kids. David was whacked out himself. Solomon did a really good job, also whacked out. All of these guys are just human. We all make mistakes, but they did their darn best to follow God. And then Solomon's son goes and trashes it all because he's not paying attention to this exact idea that David and Solomon were both paying attention to, that Samuel was paying attention to when he anointed David, when he was living with Eli in the temple before that. Like there's so many different themes inside of the Bible. And like I'm saying, like, how do you even know this stuff if you're not reading the Bible? So I can't even say that without already having read the Bible and having understood this stuff and having it be living proof. This is living proof here. And so if you want to have the best possible outcome, the best possible success by making the best possible choices, you need to have a foundation of growing up where you can say, or maybe you don't, but you need to find, because I know plenty of people who do not have a good foundation of growing up, a good understanding of anything, and they have to find the Bible. And when they do, those stories are incredible. But I don't have that story. I have a very different story, a drastically different story. So I'll go back to my dad. My dad, when he was dating, he knew he didn't want to date really at all until he knew this was the person to get married to. I've always taken this same approach. And it's like, I don't want to be wasting my time in relationships that are with people who are not going to be my future spouse and who are just going to bring me down, who are going to steal my time and who are going to steal my attention. And why would I do that to myself? And so there's that element. There's also the element of, hey, the other person has the exact same situation and experience. Why would we want to be stealing their time and their attention when they could go find the other person? And maybe they're a terrible person and we're saving ourselves from them and they just need time to figure themselves out and figure out who they are. And that could take years. So I'm not saying like, oh, just give them all the time that they need and wait around. I'm saying like, there are just generally people out there and it's getting worse. You just don't want to marry that person. But he knew based on this experience that he had to not get involved in that kind. He was focused. He was goal-oriented because he had the foundation. He had the understanding to curate the experiences he had. And that resulted in me growing up with the Bible since I was born. Since like my entire life is just one really massive testimony of God and his power. And it's amazing to me. And I've never really fully shared it. I will eventually. But it's beautiful to me. Even just my name, The Lord Saves, is amazing because he does, and it's true. And when we find this, we see that, oh, wow, the Lord saves, he redeems past mistakes and past things that we're not proud of in our life, and he makes better. Because as we grow and as we learn, we make different decisions based on what we have discovered inside of the Bible. And so if you can say, I am going to follow the Bible's principles, and even if you don't understand it right now, just flip it open and read it. Get involved in a Bible study locally. Do something so that you are constantly inside of the Bible, so that you just get used to reading it. You just get used to absorbing the information inside of it. And then you will be able to start making better decisions because you are genuinely seeking wisdom and understanding from past wisdom and understanding of these people, all collected by, because it is divinely inspired and written by God himself. There is no, I made a video talking about this exact idea, and one person left an angry comment like, yeah, if you want all this crazy stuff to happen in the Bible, and I'm just like, wow, way to focus on the bad stuff, because if you were actually reading and paying attention to the Bible, you would see just exactly how, yeah, all of those crazy things did happen, and that's exactly why we need to read the Bible. That's why we need God, because at the end of every single one of those stories, God shines through. His redemption shines through. And you really got to pay attention to that part of the Bible. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible where it's like, ooh, good to know. I will not do that. That's all of humanity's story. And so business, you don't get that. You have to read all the books. Hope you don't get scammed. Hope you don't get lied to. Start 3 or 5 businesses. Take 5 to 7 to 10 years. Spend your entire life trying to figure this out, growing and learning until you either catch a lucky break or you find a wave to ride that actually works, because that's usually one of the 2 ways that it happens. And then finally, maybe you will actually arrive at the point where you have written the book just for your own life, though. This is the one place where it is subjective and where, like, people always say, oh, it's your truth, man, live it out. Like, yeah, if you want to have a horrible life, then do that. But in business, that's kind of true. You kind of do have to just do it and try and gather your own playbook of past experiences, because you don't have a divinely inspired scripture to lay it all out for you. And isn't that beautiful? Scripture is laid out for us because, like it says, there is nothing new under the sun. No temptation has undertaken you that is not common to man. What the Bible is saying in just those 2 instances is that A, there's nothing new, and B, if you're struggling with something, don't feel special, kid. And it's like, that's really nice. Everyone else already has understood this. This is a universal experience for all of us, because humanity is just humanity. And so God is writing the cure for humanity and giving it to us in our laps and saying, look, I already took care of it for you. I died for you to be able to fix the problem that you created. And then here is how that all happened. Here's the entire story. Here's how I solved that problem. Here's the story of me dying for you. And now here's what I want you to do. And here also, by the way, is how the entire world is going to play out. And here's what I want you to do inside of that too. Like, mic drop. How does it get any better than that? It doesn't. And so when we're looking at marriage, when we're looking at business, when we're looking at life in general, all we can do is say, man, oh, by the way, the Bible has beautiful, 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 beautiful principles for business. And Alex Hormozy, who I mentioned earlier, wrote these books, and I was like, these are the closest thing to like great stuff that I've read. Like, if you're going to have a Bible for business, those are the kind of the books. There's a couple more that are out there that are great. But he used to have this Christian upbringing, and so he doesn't do that anymore. But case in point, he brings these things, and even in his book quotes Proverbs, and it's like, well, his success is based on biblical foundations and biblical principles. The words that are coming out of his mouth are him trying to change biblical things into modern day entrepreneur religion universe kind of stuff, which is so prevalent these days. But the Bible stands, and the teachings of the Bible stand, and they help us to understand every other piece of life. So when you are trying to make a massive decision, when you are trying to make a decision where you have no prior experience, what on earth can you do to make the best decision possible? Consult the Bible, consult the people who have learned and understand the Bible, consult the other people listening to this podcast who are older than you and I, who have already had the past experiences, whether good or bad, and gain their understanding from their experiences, and that should line up with and should match, depending on where you're looking, the experiences of the Bible. Because I've seen in my own family lines a lot of great stuff when people follow the Bible. Everyone does. Like, I don't know a single person who doesn't have such a much better life. I don't want to say success, because that is really physical. It's so physical in this world. And the Bible's like, physical success is not all of success. There is more to success than just riches or whatever. But like the success of having a happy life, of having a beautiful life, of having a peaceful, fulfilling life, that comes through happy, beautiful, peaceful, fulfilling marriages. That comes through happy, beautiful, peaceful, fulfilling business and actual work that we do with our lives to glorify God. That comes through happy, beautiful, peaceful, fulfilling work to help bring the gospel to other people, to teach them this exact idea. And that is the answer to a lot of the problems that I have. It's like, well, what's the solution to this? Make sure you're in line with God. Make sure that you have a foundation and an understanding of what the world is, how the world works, because you have the Bible to understand that. That's why God gave it to us, so that we could understand Him and understand ourselves in context of Him, and understand how He helps us, like all of these different ways, anything you could possibly ask about. And no, there's like certain things the Bible doesn't talk about, okay? But it doesn't need to. And so if you have a difficult situation, if you have something in life where you have to figure this out, go to the Bible, go to the other people who can help you learn about the Bible, and pray about it. Go to God Himself. Just pray, give it time. I don't get weird or like crazy with all of my stuff, but just listen and see what happens, because it does make such a difference. Don't make decisions quickly either. Take your time in making your decisions. Marriage, heck yeah, take your time in making that decision. My friend took his time, and it hasn't been a ton of time, but it's been enough time, and he's had enough guidance, counseling, wisdom, and understanding and foundation building that I can say, hey, he's probably going to do a great job inside of this decision he's making. He's young, but there are plenty of people who get married young and have wonderful, beautiful marriages. Everyone has struggles, everyone has trials, and the only thing you do inside of those is come back to this exact idea. How am I supposed to solve this? What choice am I supposed to make? Well, let's look in the Bible. Let's figure out exactly where we need to be growing ourselves to be able to make the best decision to curate our experiences so that we have the best experiences and portfolio of experiences looking back on our life possible to say, man, I did a great job with this, and I'm really proud of this. And this was beautiful, happy, and peaceful and fulfilling, because ultimately it is beautiful, happy, peaceful, and fulfilling because I did make a good, solid, educated, foundation-laid experience decision. Take that, use it, because it is going to give you massive success. Every time I do, it's amazing. And I am talking to you right now from the place of living this life for I don't even know how many years now. My biggest thing has always been, I just want you, God, to use me for whatever purpose you have me for. And I cannot even, that's a whole life story of experience, okay? Not just understanding or foundations coming from the Bible, but my own experience of how these things have practiced and how these things have been in practice and have played out in my own life that we can talk about another time. But do that, take that, and use it, because the only reason I can talk about it right now is the point I'm getting to is because I've already done it and I can tell you it works. So there you go. Good luck. I will see you guys next time.